Last year, after a long wait, Microsoft finally released the Elite Series 2 controller on their Design Labs website. This service allows you to customize almost every aspect of the popular controller, tailoring it to your wants and needs to create your own unique gaming peripheral. But it comes with a price, and depending on what you get, it isn't going to be cheap. So before you spend your hard-earned money, watch me do it first, and join me as I bring you along on my journey to find out, is it worth it? The building experience. I had made my own controllers in the Design Lab several times before out of curiosity, but I've never actually bought one, so I had a relative idea of what the process was going to be like going in. Going to the website, you're greeted with a blank canvas of a plain black Xbox Elite controller. From here, you can customize almost every aspect of the controller: the body shell, back shell, bumpers and triggers, the D or directional pad, the thumbstick bases and toppers, as well as the thumbstick rings, the button color, as well as the option to add engraving. While going through and designing, I had a few qualms with the process. Fortunately for anyone watching this video, it seems that in the 6 or 7 months since I built mine, they've fixed a few of them. For example, when I built mine, there were only 8 different shell colors to choose from. It looks like they've now expanded it to 16 different colors. However, this still pales in comparison to the 23 colors and 6 different patterns you can get on the normal custom controllers. On the normal Xbox Design Labs controller, you have an upcharge of $4 to get metallic painted triggers, but there wasn't an option for bumpers. On the Elite, both are defaulted to a metallic finish, but there also isn't an option to just paint them a non-metallic paint color. This seems like something that shouldn't be an issue as it exists on the normal controllers, and I'm wondering if they keep it this way to sort of differentiate from the normal controllers and make it look like a more premium quality product. Now, when I was making my controller, one of the problems I had with it was that the metallic colors didn't line up. For example, I wanted my bumpers, triggers, and D-pad to be a matching shade of Hero Gold. However, at the time, they didn't have all those elements in the same color. Only the D-pad came in Hero Gold, while there was only a bright yellow color for the triggers and bumpers. This forced me to settle for normal green bumpers and thumbsticks. The last thing I'll say about the controller is that there isn't an option to change the color of the rubber grip, which is black by default on the controller. Now, this personally didn't bother me, as I didn't think the black looked too bad with my Velocity green choice. However, I could see how it might dampen others' designs, and I even had people tell me that they didn't like it and wish they were able to change it themselves. I recognize that colorizing the rubber grips would probably be more expensive. However, if this was the case, it could always be an upcharge. I will say that the design process is very fluid and not at all confusing. It's very simple. You choose the color you want and it shows on the render on the left, which is very impressive by the way. It simulates light reflecting off the surfaces to showcase the metallic coating, as well as give you an idea of what it might look like in real life. Overall, I think that the design process is very smooth and in a better state than it was at launch. However, speaking as someone who purchased the controller at launch, it almost feels like a bit of a gut punch to see that they've updated their colors after just 6 or 7 months. Since these colors are all available on the normal Xbox Design Labs controllers, there's no reason in my mind why they couldn't have launched the Series 2 Elite controller with all those colors as well, especially as it's a top-of-the-line product and should ideally be the best possible item to purchase with the most customization options available. It's great that these colors are available now for new buyers, but how long until they just go and add more color options that you might have wanted in the future? The add-ons. I was pleasantly surprised when I noticed that there was no upcharges for building this controller. However, I was also very wary of the price tag, with the site saying it only cost $150. I just knew that was too good to be true. I noticed at the bottom it said add accessories. This was when I realized that there was no way that most people would end up spending just $150. In the accessories, there are 3 categories: a 4-pack of paddles, a pack of 6 different thumbsticks plus an extra D-pad, and a carrying/charging case. Now, separately, all 3 would add up to a whopping $97, bringing your total up to $247 before tax. Luckily, the website gives you the handy option to add the Elite bundle, which includes all 3 for the lower price of $60. This brings your price up to $209.99, basically $210, which is significantly cheaper. After choosing the add-ons you want, you are able to customize what color you want them to be as well, which is nice as you can make them match the rest of your controller. I was a little disappointed to learn that the controller doesn't come with any paddles by default, and you had to buy the 4-pack. The paddles are one of the leading reasons that people seem to get the controller. Another thing I want to point out is that if you order the extra thumbsticks pack, make sure to get the opposite D-pad style that you didn't choose on your initial controller, otherwise you'll end up with 2 of the same style. Shipping and handling. Not too much to say on this topic. Luckily, shipping for this controller was free, which was great since it costs over $200. The website claimed that it would be shipped out in 3 to 4 weeks. After anxiously waiting for weeks, I finally got an email on November 1st that my order had shipped. With the estimated delivery date of November 7th, I was skeptical it was going to arrive on time as it was shipping from China. However, come the 7th, it was delivered, and when I opened it up, it was the wrong controller. Just kidding. That was a dream I had. Like, actually, I had a dream the night before it came in that I opened it and it was red instead of green. The controller. Okay, the moment you've all been waiting for. The controller itself. Or you might have skipped right to this part from the video timestamps. I just wanted to say I appreciate the views on the video, so please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and let me know what your thoughts are on this Elite controller and if you're going to get one yourself, or if you already have one. Also, just leave a like because I spent $210 on it. Please. Pretty please. But anyway, finally opening up the delivery box, I was pretty excited to see how the real product turned out. It was neatly packaged in a crisp Design Labs box with the rainbow chrome outlines of a controller on the front of it. There were nice little tear strips so you didn't have to slice the tape open on the box. I was also shocked by the weight of the box. It had said it was $3. It had said it was 3 pounds shipped, but it actually had a nice bit of heft to the box. This included the controller when I took it out. For some reason I had thought that the carrying case would be larger. It took up maybe 2/3 of the box it came in. In the box there was also a nice long charging cable to use as well, which also allows you to plug into your console or PC for wired play. Open in the case, you have the controller itself, as well as insets for the extra D-pad, extra sticks, and to hold the paddles. The controller itself sits on a charging stand, which is magnetically attached, so you can also take it out to charge and rest the controller on. There's also a convenient little trap door thingy-majig. I don't know what to call it. I'm sure there's a proper name for it, but I have no clue what it is. On the top, that allows you to charge the controller while it's in the case, which is nice too. The case is well made and contoured the controller well, although there are 2 negatives to it in my opinion. I wish it had a handle. It has a little piece of fabric you can put a carabiner through, but I would have rather had a handle. There's also the fact that you can't put the charging cable that came with the controller in the case, because it's way too bulky when wrapped up due to the length of the cable and the case won't close. It's not a deal breaker, but certainly a bit of a hit to the convenience of the case, although a shorter cable might be able to fit since this one's like 5 or 6 feet long. Now onto the controller itself. At first glance, I thought, yeah, it's just another Xbox controller. However, I changed my mind a bit when I picked it up. Due to the rechargeable battery inside of it, it has a nice weight to it. It feels really solid and chunky, but in a good way. It still has all the ergonomic feelings of an Xbox controller, but it feels like it has more premium build quality. The buttons have a nice click and quick response time, and for some reason when I sat back down on my PC, I couldn't help but kind of relate the feeling of the buttons to the keys of a mechanical keyboard. The grip feels nice, and the paddles rest gently against my fingers as I grip the controller. Now, I have big hands. It's a reason why I love the Xbox One controllers. Back in the day, one of my friends had a PlayStation, and going over to his house, I struggled with the controller because it was just way too small in my hands. This controller, however, feels perfect in my hands, and it feels like holding a normal Xbox controller. There's no added bulk that changes the size of this controller, as the paddles sit very flush against the back and don't change the outline or shape of it at all. The interchangeability of the components on the controller are nice as well. Each one of these components are magnetically attached, meaning that they're held on well, but also relatively easy to take off if needed. The only thing I have to say I have a problem with is that my left grip does have a tiny piece that isn't flattened all the way, or maybe like a little bit of excess that wasn't trimmed fully, but in any case, it's not anything that's detrimental to the quality or playability of the controller. I can feel it scraping against my hand a tiny bit sometimes, but unless it actually starts peeling off substantially, I'm not going to be too mad about it. Booting up the controller to use it, I was prompted to the Xbox Accessories app. After downloading a quick controller update, it guided me through the features of the Elite Series 2 controller, and let me on my merry way to customize my own profile. Here, I was able to customize how the controller works. So in addition to the ability to customize how it looks outside, you can change how it functions inside. Using slider buttons on the back of the controller, you're able to change the trigger sensitivity, meaning you can press down less and get the full effect. You're also able to customize the stick sensitivity to make it more or less responsive. You can also change the amount of vibration you experience in the controller, which is nice as some games just have way too much vibration. Seriously, I had to turn vibration off in Grand Theft Auto Online way a long time ago, because it just happened so often while driving that it would actually like rumble the controller so much that it would affect the audio coming through my headphones while I was plugged into the controller. In a surprising addition to the controller customization, you're also able to change the color of the LED surrounding the Xbox logo. There were custom presets, as well as the option to have it match your Xbox theme, and there's also full hex code functionality, meaning you have literally millions of colors to choose from. This was a nice quality of life feature in my opinion, as the light on the normal Xbox controller can be super bright sometimes, and very noticeable to me, especially when playing in the dark. Finally, there's the option to change what buttons the paddles correspond to. You can map them to be alternate ABXY, or maybe map 2 to be alternate left-right bumper. The choice is yours. This also allows you to set up multiple profiles. You could have one set up for Modern Warfare 2 with a certain layout for the paddles, or you could have one for Forza Horizon 5 with a completely different set of paddle layouts. And there's even a button on the front of the controller to switch between 3 designated profiles on the fly, meaning you don't have to go back to the settings often to switch profiles. So we know the functionality of the controller, But how does it work in games? Using the controller. I was initially going to make this video when I got the controller, but for reasons I never got around to finishing the edit. However, I think this will work out better for anyone viewing the video, as you'll be able to see what I think after 6 to 7 months of using the controller almost daily, and say what problems I have with the controller now. So using the controller feels great. It sits well in my hands, and while using the paddles takes some time to get used to, after a while it just gets easier and easier to use. The variety of thumbsticks included are also great. I've swapped out my normal right thumbstick for a taller, more dome-shaped rounded one, and that has worked so much better for me I haven't switched back. The controller has a lot of good quality of life features, and it definitely feels like a quality product. However, I do have to say there are some issues I'm finding with this controller. The first thing I'll point out is the trigger stops. So you're able to change them on the back of the controller, as I've said before, so that you have to press less to activate the trigger's mechanism. However, anytime I've tried to use it, after a short while of using it, it ends up bothering my fingers because it seems like the abrupt hard stop kind of like hurts my finger and makes them sore after a bit, which that might sound kind of like pussy-ish, but it happens. This is a feature that might be more useful in certain games, but for me it's a feature that I don't find myself using often, if ever. Now right out of the box I found a problem with the controller while using it. When I pushed the left thumbstick into the up and left position, northwest if you imagine on a compass, there seemed to be a dead zone where the thumbstick wouldn't click in. Usually clicking the left stick in is how you run in a lot of games, so obviously it's kind of a big problem. It really bothered me at first, but I just ended up remapping the left stick clicking into one of the paddles. Now I found that this ended up working great, and I found it to be more intuitive while gaming. But it's also still an issue that shouldn't exist on a $200 controller out of the box. After the 6 or 7 months, I've also discovered some other issues with the controller. Lately I've noticed that specifically the right bumper and the A button seem to be a little non-responsive at times. Sometimes if I hit the right bumper in the wrong spot, closer to the inside of the circle near the Xbox logo, it won't activate at all, which is definitely not helpful when I'm fighting a boss in Elden Ring. Similarly, it happens to the A button, where sometimes I hit it and it doesn't seem to work if I don't hit it hard enough. Now again, these are technically situations that can be remedied by linking those respective buttons to the paddles on the back. However, there is no excuse for this to happen on a $200 controller. I've also noticed a little stick drift, but it seems to be more just like a tiny offset thing that happens sometimes when I move the stick back to the standard position, where it'll just be a little slightly to the right or left. It's nothing major yet, knock on wood, but I think that's the thing that would annoy me even more than the spongy buttons. Conclusion. So what do I think about this controller? Well, I think that it certainly feels like a premium product, and while I personally had problems with the building process and the color matching department, it does seem to be fixed now for future buyers. After 6 or 7 months of daily use, I've also noticed issues with some of the buttons and them not working 100% of the time. I think that this controller is worth it if you need a new controller, want to customize it, and want all the extra functionality of the paddles and extra thumbsticks. At $210, I think you should obviously only get this if you have the money to spare. Otherwise, I would definitely recommend a cheaper option. In addition, while the controller is under warranty, I've heard that if you send it in for a replacement, you just get a normal black Elite controller back, which kind of completely invalidates the point of buying a custom controller in the first place. If you really want the Elite controller, you can get one cheaper, as the normal non-customized versions are only $180 and go on sale. And if you also just want the normal basic Elite controller with no paddles, which you can buy separately later, or maybe you already have paddles, you can also buy the core controller at an even cheaper $130. Looking at my initial review I was writing of the controller, it looks like I was going to give it an 8 out of 10. However, going back to the topic 6 to 7 months later, I think I'm going to drop the rating to a 7 out of 10 due to the issues I've been having with the buttons. While the issues I have with the controller are annoying, the controller is still usable and hasn't caused me any grief or made me question my purchase over this past 6 or 7 months I've had it. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, consider leaving a like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts on the controller, and if you have it, have you had any similar issues? Let me know.